Welcome to Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast. This is Bruce Hutchin, host and executive producer. Each week, you will hear tips, techniques, strategies, and personal stories from some of the best and funniest whitetail hunters in North America. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you do, tell a friend on social media. If not, tell me and I'll make it better. Thanks for listening, folks. Hey, folks, we got a new sponsor. It's called Buckwild Coffee. What's so special about Buckwild Coffee? Well, a gazillion people go to Starbucks every day and drink coffee. Well, why shouldn't Buckwild Coffee offer you light, medium, or dark roast with free shipping? All you have to do is go to whitetailrendezvous.com, go to shop, and order your coffee, and I'll ship it out for free. Hey, thanks so much for visiting Buckwild Coffee. The best brew in the West, the best brew around the campfire, the best brew in the hunting shack, the best brew anywhere. Buckwild Coffee. Get yours today. This is Whitetail Rendezvous, episode number 409. We're heading to Iowa today, and we're going to connect with Hunter Brunk. Hunter and his brother Trevor have a YouTube channel called Brunk Outdoors, where they set up and film realistic hunts. They do a lot of ground blind hunting, but more important than that, they're passionate about sharing their ideas about how to pick the right trail, hunting the wind, making sure that you get far enough away from the parking lot so you have non-pressured deer. It's all coming up, folks. You're going to enjoy it. Hunter Brunk from Brunk Outdoors. Hey, folks, I'm with Hunter Brunk today. Hunter's out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and he's one of the young guns in the whitetail world. He's got his own YouTube channel called Brunk Outdoors. Hey, Hunter, what's up?
Hey Bruce, thanks for having me on. I'm really excited to do the show and share some of my views on the whitetail world. So thanks for having
Well,
me
I
on.
appreciate it. Yeah, and like I said, you're one of the young guns in the whitetail world. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the youth in the whitetail world and what you bring to the table.
Well, I think I don't know. What I like about you know getting started early and hunting from an early age is seems like I just have a lot more time than most people do after they get to college and get join the workforce and everything like that. And so me being younger, last year I spent pretty much every day of the fall hunting whitetails after school or whatever, and I wouldn't have gotten my buck last year if I wouldn't have been able to go out after school every day. So really, like one of the advantages of just being younger is just you get to hunt more often, and you get to build all that experience just because you have a lot of time to be out in the woods. So I think that's one of the advantages, and I've heard that, several years ago, seems like hunting recruitment was dying off, and seems like less hunters were getting involved in the sport. But now I think that trend, at least around here, has really shifted to more and more people are hunting, especially with all the social media involvement. And it seems like a ton of people are joining hunting, and it seems like the sport's only growing. So I think that's really awesome.
Yeah. Now, when you talk about youth and everything, after school, you take off. Now, how many of your buddies, guys or gals, are also doing that?
It doesn't seem like too many of them are. A lot of people have sports and other commitments that they have to go to, um, jobs. Some people work. I've been fortunate enough that I do have quite a bit of time to dedicate to, this is my main passion, hunting, and my other passions are basically lifting weights. So I've basically been able to dedicate all my time to those two passions. But I think anyone um, who's in school or whatever, who is youth, can make time to get the experience in the woods if they want to. This past turkey season, I was hunting pretty much every day before school, just hunting for the first hour or so off the roost. So I think people can do that with their jobs too. But I think being youth and having less of the commitments really allows people to get out more and enjoy the woods. So I wouldn't say, all of my buddies and friends that I hunt with are quite as crazy as I am with it and get out all the time, but they definitely have more time than some of the older people with commitments and real jobs and stuff. So
Hey, I appreciate the little background. Now let's talk about your hunting areas. Are you hunting river bottoms or you're hunting croplands?
I grew up hunting in southern Iowa mainly, and it was basically just we would hunt my grandparents' old 40-acre property that they lived on, and it was basically a river bluff. So there was big ravines and everything like that in the 40 acres that we hunted, and then it would drop down into a crop field, and there was a river, maybe 400 yards across the field from the bluff. And so that's what I grew up hunting, and that's what a lot of my hunting experience comes from. But obviously, it's a really small acreage, and they ended up selling that place, and now I've expanded to hunting northern Missouri. We have a 160-acre farm down there that's just big timber with small clearings and hay fields all around. Not much cropland around there, and so we do quite a bit of hunting down there. And within the past couple of years, I've started hunting more and more public land around here in Cedar Rapids. So we'll travel an hour and a half, 2 hours just to hunt and scout public land in Iowa, just because most of it is really, really good. And if we see something on a map that we want to go check out, we're not afraid to drive and have to drive long ways to go hunt it. So I hunt just a mix of habitats. A lot of the public land around here is marsh, just because that's, if anything's not marsh and it's open areas, it's typically going to be being farmed. And if it's ravines, a lot of it's going to be private wooded timber lots that are being hunted. So I'd say a pretty good majority of the public land here in Iowa is marsh habitat. And that's not necessarily a bad thing because it is really good whitetail hunting habitat. A lot of it's really diverse. Some of it has marsh, and then the other half of the unit might be cropland and ravines and big timber. So I think hunting this public land around here in Iowa really has diversified me to be able to hunt a lot of these different habitats.
Yeah, I think in Wisconsin and some of the marshland, I hunt along the Baraboo River, so between Baraboo and Hillsborough and that country. And the thing I see, we put up tower stands in the marshland, and it's hard to pattern them. In the uh, bow hunting season, but gun season, they all just pour off the bluffs, the ag land all around along the Bear River, and then they just disappear into that marsh ground. And it's a heck of a place to hunt, especially during the gun season. Not saying that you don't have to, but like we got so much cropland and food plots up on the bluffs that I just don't hunt it in the bow season, and so I don't need to. Hey, let's get back to hey, you hunt before school for an hour, then right after school. Where are you going?
So those hunts are obviously going to be a little bit more limited to areas that are closer around me, and um, I just I pick some of the best areas that I think are within maybe 45 minutes of me, and then go from there. A lot of it just has to do with scouting. And the place I was turkey hunting this spring, I was basically going back to the same place over and over again because that was the best spot within about an hour of my location. So that's basically where I was um, forced to go the whole time. And it's not necessarily a bad thing because I was learning more and more about this location and the birds I was hunting every time I went out, which was most most days with good weather. So got a lot of experience up there, and
Did you get a
it's
did you get a tom?
I had a pretty rough year of turkey hunting. I got one Jake down in Missouri, and Trevor got a couple birds, one in Iowa and one in Missouri. But I had a pretty rough year Um, I missed one in Missouri because, well, I think it's because I hit too much brush, and it's not like us to miss turkeys, but Trevor missed one too, and it just seems like we had a rough year. Uh, I'd get birds to 50 or 60 yards on the public land all the time, and wouldn't be able to seal the deal on them. And one of the hunts I had 3 or 4 gobblers really just hammering, and when they were working in, and I didn't realize it, but there was another hunter set up. I had thought he was just another hen because there were other hens just mixed in with all the other birds, and finally they kind of worked their way back and forth and ended up on a swing down towards him, and he shot one of them, and of course they all spooked. But that was I didn't get the bird, but they were probably in range of me too. They were just kind of circling around us, and it was just a really fun hunt for sure. I went up to him and congratulated him, and I got to see the turkey and pretty much got the whole hunt on film for the YouTube channel. So that was really cool. And he was just a really nice guy, so I wasn't upset at all with it. And it was almost like as good as killing one for myself. And I'm pretty sure that hunt was early in the fourth season here in Iowa, so I was okay with it because I still had a lot more time to hunt, and I was kind of happy that my season wasn't over yet. Now I wish I would have gotten him because I didn't end up getting one, but I definitely got to spend a lot more time out in the woods, which was fun.
Let's talk. Stay right here and talk about public land. Now you get the home 40. Do you still have that in Iowa? Your grandparents' land?
No, they ended up selling that part of their place, and they just live down there now. But so I'd say the majority of my hunting is just public land here in Iowa anymore, and I have one small piece of private that I hunt that I've got permission to hunt right next to public land that I actually killed my big deer on this past year. So that's the majority of the hunting that I do, which isn't uh, necessarily a bad thing. Most of the public land around here is just really good whitetail habitat, and if you put in the work and put it in the time to really scout it, and I indulged my basically my whole life into hunting, and so I'm always doing something for scouting or doing something for hunting. And if you really put the time in and put the effort in, put the hard work in, getting back to the places that no one else goes, you can definitely get into some good deer on Iowa public land. And a lot of that has to do with the low draw odds for non-resident and everything like that. It just seems like the pressure is definitely lower than other states you might go to for public land hunting. So that's
So
really nice. And that's
what zone do you hunt?
I actually don't know the zone, so I never looked into it for non-residents. But I'm trying to remember. I don't think I've ever looked into the zones. Um,
Because
it
you're
just
north of
being that,
80, right? You're north of the interstate.
yeah, just yep, it just be the Eastern Iowa zone. At one point, I'm pretty sure I knew.
That's okay.
I,
Yeah, for the
it's
outer
not,
state people, a lot of people ask me all the time, Iowa's land of the giants. I was at the Iowa Deer Classic as you were. We just didn't know each other then. We'll see you next year.
yeah.
But a lot of people ask me, and I said, there's a lot of public land, but the thing that saves you as a resident hunter is non-resident hunter. I mean, is that a lot of the residents only hunt as they don't work hard at it. What's your thoughts about that? You know,
So yeah,
pub,
I was gonna touch on that. Seems like first of all, seems like most of the residents around here have a place to hunt privately, um, and so they just don't have to hunt the public land around here. And it's not a bad thing for sure. It just seems like it's not. It's hard to say, but it seems like it's not that hard to gain private permission if you just know people, and a lot of people don't bow hunt. A lot of people just shotgun hunt and drive hunt. So of course that's party hunting. So they're obviously going to have a place to um, hunt deer on private land doing that. So I think a big part of it is a lot of the residents around here just don't have to hunt the public land. And some of the stigmas that you hear is that there's no big deer on public land, or it gets too pressured and stuff like that. And so a lot of people just don't hunt the public land around here. Now it still gets plenty of pressure, believe me, but if you just, work and get back to the places that other people don't go, I think you can negate a lot of that. Because it seems like um, I've heard the theory of hunt right next to the access points, and a lot of people walk right by it, and that's where the good deer hunting will be. But it seems like at least around here, that's not the case. I run into tree stands literally 50 yards from the parking lots where people hunt pretty regularly. So it seems like uh, some of the people at least don't think you have to get that far back in, and a lot of the people will stop maybe within that first quarter mile, half mile from the access points, which is reasonable because getting a big bodied deer out of the woods from that far without a cart is not an easy task. I know my drag on my Iowa buck was a little over a half mile this year, and that that was a 3 hour drag, and we were out of the woods until after midnight. So a lot of people, um, I guess it might not be worth it for them, or they just don't want to put in that much work, I guess, to get a deer out, and that's fine with me because I'll be back there and I'll be pulling all night if I have to. So I think if you just find the places that you can get back in there farther, you can really get away from a lot of the pressure. And obviously, there's going to be guys like you that feel the same way, and there's obviously going to be guys that will work just as hard as you will. But I think you can cut down a lot on the pressure if you just get back in there and uh, hunt the overlook spots. One thing I wanted to touch on was uh, I was talking about hunting the marsh around here, and it seems to me like uh, a lot of the times the marsh just gets overlooked because uh, people are so used to hunting the big timber and the ravines and the ridges, and so they just don't think to hunt the marshes. Like I grew up hunting that river bluff, and so I had never thought of hunting the marshes until I talked to um, Zach Fehrenbaugh of Midwest Whitetail. I talked to him at the Whitetail Deer Classic. We had a great conversation on hunting the marshes and deer behavior down there. And it's amazing what these deer will do uh, just living down in these wet areas all year uh, just to get away from some of the pressure. And I know bucks can get really big down there, and people just don't think to hunt it. It's obviously a lot harder to hunt because of the access and because of how hard it is to walk in it on a lot of the marshy areas. But the deer are in there, and a lot of people just don't realize that. I think it's the water almost doesn't seem to bother them, and they'll just go in there and lay down all day on a high point, and that's where they'll be all year until they come out to feed at night or whatever. And so I think if you can get back into some of those areas, they'll get into good hunting as well.
Let's talk about hunting because I'm thinking of Bear River and some of the stands on the north side of it. We're on the south side, the farm and everything. And I'm thinking, there's a few trees, but that's why it's gun hunted because we put up star tower stands, or we used to drive it. We don't drive it with 10 or 15 guys anymore. And when I first hunted, that's how we did it. We just drove everything, and we'd have a crew, to be 15 to 20 people, and 10 would drive or 15 would drive and 5 would stand at the pinch points or the funnels because we knew where they're going to come out. It's just, you had to be there. And let's talk about, because I'm thinking of High Point. I know big bucks live down there, but one, if it's a high water year, you got to wear hip boots or waders to get
Mhm.
in, and it's noisy as heck. So how do you combat that?
Well, you're obviously going to make noise whenever you're getting in there, and I haven't found a really good way to combat that. Um, you just have to be careful with your access. Uh, a lot of times the marshes will have rivers bordering it, so if you can find a way to float and get a kayak or something where you can not make any noise at all and just use the river to access, that's obviously going to be ideal. Uh, Usually there's going to be some sort of creek system that runs through it, And so a lot of times I'll hop down to the creeks and just walk up it that way, which is still noisy, especially if you're fighting the current. And it's a ton of work, but it's going to be a lot quieter than walking on the crunchy grass or and making a bunch of noise with your waders. So that's a couple of those are just using the actual waterways themselves can be a lot quieter than walking through the thick marsh. And so that's one of the ways I've combated that, I guess. But
Yeah, if you I was gonna say, you mentioned Midwest Whitetails with Bill Winke, and he's made a science of filming. Have you ever thought about getting on as an intern with him?
I've thought about it a lot. Uh, he or when I was talking to Zach Fehrenbaugh, which by the way, the guys at Midwest Whitetail are just awesome people. They're really nice and they're just great people. They know a ton about deer hunting more than I think I'll ever know. And so they're really fun to talk to and they're really great people. Um, but he had recommended that I at least apply for pro staff or whatever because we film our hunts and we enjoyed our conversation together and stuff like that. But so I've thought about it. I've thought about doing the intern thing with them, and I think I'd gain a ton of knowledge about filming and hunting. So it'd be really good for me. But I'm going down to University of Iowa next year, so I have other commitments, and I wouldn't be able to just go live down there for a whole fall or whatever. So the internship is kind of off the table. And as far as pro staffing goes, I've definitely thought about that. But see, I just Brunk Outdoors is my baby. I've put in so much work and time into Brunk Outdoors, and I have such great support from the fans, or at least most of them. And so Brunk Outdoors is my baby, and so I couldn't really just give that up to go pro staff for Midwest Whitetail. As much as I'd love to do both things, I'm not sure that it would really work out to have Brunk Outdoors and be pro staff. So I definitely thought about it, but I just couldn't give up all that I put into Brunk Outdoors and everything like that.
Well, I appreciate that. And um, what are you going to study at Iowa?
I'm going into engineering. So I'm going in undeclared, but I've been leaning towards biomedical.
Well, good luck to you. It's a
Yeah,
good
thank you.
school. Whitetail Rendezvous is pleased to announce a partnership with GoHunt.com. Who's GoHunt.com? Well, if you're a DIY hunter, you need the information at GoHunt.com/insider. Why? Because it provides 4,200 profiles, every unit, every species, and every season. Furthermore, they give in-depth analysis, interactive maps, unit access, and seasonal trends. Draw odds are very important, and they give you the most accurate information in the business. All this is available when you go to gohunt.com/insider. Make sure you use promo code WR when you join Insider. You'll get a $50 gift card for GoHunt.com Gear Shop. All in all, if you're hunting out west in 2018, GoHunt.com Insider is where you need to be to get all the research information. When you use promo code WR, Whitetail Rendezvous receives a small commission from GoHunt.com. Yeah, it's good
Yeah,
school. They got a great football program, so have fun.
yeah, we'll do for sure.
So let's take a little break here and tell people how to get a hold of you on social media where they can reach out to your YouTube channel.
Yeah, so our YouTube channel is Brunk Outdoors, and you can go on there and look that up and find all of our stuff on there. You can contact us through any of the comment sections on any of our videos. I try to reply to every single comment, and I at least read every single comment. And you can also get a hold of us on our Instagram page, which is at Brunk Outdoors, and you can DM us with any questions or comments you might have, and we'll get back to you that way.
Folks, I'm putting it up right now. Brunk Outdoors, if I could spell, that would be better. Brunk Outdoors TV, BRUNCK. Okay. Yep.
Yep, just Brunk Outdoors. You can also find us on our website, which is just www.brunkoutdoors.com. And we do have a Facebook page that we're not quite as active on as we should be, but we do have that as well.
Yeah, and I got Brunk Outdoors coming up, folks. So you can see his website. So that's at www.brunkoutdoors.com. Brunk Outdoors, reach your peak. Hey, thanks for sharing that. And there's your promo right there. And we'll just go to about, and you can see something about Brunk Outdoors. So there's your commercial, and I want to give a shout out for Wilderness Athlete and Fit to Hunt. I just finished my 28-day challenge, and it went really well. And I'm excited to be continued sponsored by Wilderness Athlete and Fit to Hunt. So let's go, and that's a great segue. Fit to Hunt. We talked about that, and you're passionate about lifting. You blew out your knees wrestling, and so now it's just you and the weights. And are you a gym rat?
You could say that, I guess. Yeah. Like I said, my two passions are hunting. That's number one. I'm always gonna do that. And then I guess my second one would be lifting weights and everything that goes along with that. And I got involved with that just through sports. I loved football and wrestling up until kind of my freshman year when I tore both of my shoulders. I've torn the labrums in both of them and had to get them surgically repaired. My first one was my freshman year in high school, and ended up coming back to wrestling in my junior year. I had to take my sophomore year off because of that injury, and then I tore my other shoulder. So haven't been able to get back into sports, but I can still lift and be really active in the gym, which I enjoy. I can't just sit around and do nothing. I have to uh, do some stuff. So I
Well, I
really enjoy it.
appreciate that. I was
Yeah.
going to say I appreciate that, and I said, "Hey, I was incorrect, listeners. I thought in the warm up he had said his knees. I wasn't listening. So it is his shoulder." And last October, I came out of the mountains after sheep hunting and had my right shoulder pinned because I tore it. I tore the bicep and I tore the rotator cuff, and I was a mess. But I'm
Mhm.
good now. I'm back in the gym like yourself, and I just say, folks, you got to commit to your health, and there's no better place to do that than cardio, and then get on high rep. I'm in high rep weights. So talk about why fitness is important for a whitetail hunter. You gave us one insight for dragging a big buck out, but what else?
Yeah. So obviously, whenever you're getting those long drags, you're going to need to be uh, pretty fit just to survive them. It seems like I remember on my dragging that big buck out. You might think I'm exaggerating, and it might be a bit of exaggeration, but this buck had to weigh close to 300 pounds. It was the biggest body deer I've ever seen. And thankfully, I had he's actually going to be my roommate down in college next year, but he was helping me drag him out. And he's just as involved in fitness as I am. So he's strong as an ox. And thankfully, I had him to help me. But we would drag maybe 10 or 15 yards, and we'd have to take a break. And finally, we're getting closer to the car, and we're like, all right, this is going to be the last drag. We can get him from here. And then 3 breaks later, we're still dragging. So that gives you a little bit of an insight on how tough some of those drags can be. So obviously, you need to be pretty physically fit to do that, or have a nice deer cart, which I finally went and bought. But other than that, just it's important to be physically fit just to be able to get back into those places that you need to be at. I mentioned using trick systems to get back into the marsh. And if you're walking against the current, it's amazing how difficult that can be. I think I walked a half mile up current um, last winter, getting into a deer spot, and almost killed a big buck that night. So it was almost worth it. But I remember I was just drenched in sweat and dog tired by the time I got up there. So it's really important to be physically fit for that. And as far as anything like that goes, I think whitetail hunting, you don't have to be as much into it as you do with elk hunting in the mountains. We take a week-long trip every year to Colorado in September to hunt elk. So that's another big reason that we're into fitness. And if you're not fit for the mountains,
You're
you're
gonna
gonna,
get your butt kicked.
oh yeah. So it's really important out there. You'll just get ate up and spit out by the mountains if you go out there and you haven't been doing anything all year.
That's for sure. Now let's go back to stealth approach, especially in the marsh. And I know a lot of guys use kayaks, they'll use canoes, or they'll wade. And the thing I just want to always be safe because it's easy to wade in the daylight. When you're coming on dark, man, everything is harder, even with a headlamp. And I just want to add my 2 cents. I know some people that wear PFDs, personal flotation devices. They got the yoke or vest type that is really easy, really lightweight. And Stearns has them. A lot of places have them. But if you're going to spend a lot of time, in the water, in the creeks, in your kayak, canoe, whatever, always wear that because unfortunately, I know a couple of people that have died. They simply drowned because they got waders on. Something happened, and they didn't have a way out.
That's
So that's
great
my
to
2 cents. Go
yeah,
ahead.
that's great to mention. Uh, yeah, I should add if I'm coming back during the dark or even going in during the dark, if there's any way to avoid getting in the water with hip boots or whatever, I do try to avoid that. You should always account for your personal safety before you worry about getting your deer or whatever. So I think that's really important to note, and I'm glad you brought that up. A lot of times, especially in the marsh, uh, if you're using like an oxbow lake instead of a creek, sometimes the the bottoms of those oxbow lakes will be really washed out in places, and it can drop off, and you can just be swallowed up by that hole in the lake before you know it. So it's really important to keep that in mind and go really slow whenever you are walking through any of these waterways.
Yeah, thanks for that. So let's change it up and close up the show with Brunk Outdoors. How did you start? What's it doing when people go to the site? What are they going to see?
So if you go to our website, uh, we have you can stop by the homepage, and we have a little bit of a promo video, I guess, flashing by from our entry into the Kui Film Festival. That's up. The full video is up on our YouTube page, and you can see everything. Our about section, which is basically our bio. You can read that if you go to brunkoutdoors.com. You can also shop some merchandise. We have 3 hats available, and you can pick those up or look at them if you want to do that. We'll also be working on some more merchandise and a couple of other big projects coming up. Uh, but it's all stemmed off of our YouTube channel. And basically, we just got involved just doing our YouTube channel for fun. And I uploaded my first video, which was a Point Nitrum Turbo tuning video, uh, just to do it for fun and to hopefully help people tune their bows. And I ended up posting that to one of the forums I'm involved with, to Archery Talk, and the response to that was really great. So we just kept building off of that, and we quickly realized that the YouTube channel and filming our hunts and posting them to that had become a separate passion in itself, just from hunting in general. And we love that aspect of it. We love interacting with all the people on the channel. Any of the comments that we get are usually pretty positive. So it's really nice to be able to respond to those and get feedback from all of our fans like that. Uh, and so, yeah, that's become kind of a separate passion for us. And we've, if you go to our YouTube channel, you'll notice part of the page is video blogs. And I want to talk quickly about those. And basically, every time we go hunting or scouting or do anything for deer hunting, really, or any hunting at all, we'll post a video blog about it. And basically, all those are just documenting the hunt or the scouting mission that we did. And we put that up within the next day or so after that hunt. So what that allows us to do is use all the footage that we just had from the hunts instead of just letting them sit. And for the viewer, it lets people know what's going on, really up to date. They can follow maybe rut action or anything like that. Um, they can see what's going on in the woods in that time of year, and they can just keep really up to date with us on all of our hunting adventures. And I think it's really good just for the industry, just because it shows that hunting's not always a fairy tale, and it shows how much work goes into one successful hunt. Um, you can watch a TV show, an outdoor TV show, and you'll see 3 kills in a half-hour show, and what you don't see is the week-long hunt to get to that point before they killed their animal. And so I think it's really good to just post these video blogs showing every hunt that along the way to get to the end result or of the success if you term success as killing your animal. I think it's really good to just post those so people can experience that and learn from any of our mistakes. A lot of times, uh, they'll be really informative, just showing what we've learned from that hunt and showing you any of the mistakes we made so that hopefully the viewer doesn't have to make them themselves. So I really like that section of it. And another section of the channel is just helpful tips that I may think of, shooting bows, tuning bows, and any hunting tips that I may have. So that's basically the YouTube channel. If you want to go check that out, I think you really enjoy it. I put a lot of time into it, and I love doing it. So, yeah.
Let's talk about Trevor and your dad and how involved they're with Brunk Outdoors.
So Trevor and I do most of the filming and editing for the YouTube channel, and do pretty much everything with that. Uh, and Trevor does a lot of the Instagram for us. I'd say he does the majority of the Instagram work. I'd obviously do some as well, and I do the majority of the YouTube work. So it's a really good balance between us to get all the content up for everyone and not be so swamped because we both participate a lot. And Dad is the one who takes us on all these hunts. So he doesn't do any filming, but without him, none of this would be possible, and we wouldn't be able to go on our elk hunts, anything like that. And obviously, he's the one who got us started in hunting. So anytime we're hunting with him, he's obviously going to be on video because we film all of our hunts. But take he doesn't self film, at least when he's deer hunting. I've gotten a couple of his kills on video just going with him because I love getting back to your roots and just hunting with your dad. It's really fun. So that's how he's involved with it. But everyone just does their part, and it's really manageable. It's really fun working with Trevor, and we enjoy the heck out of it. So,
well, thanks for that. And you make me want on my way to Wisconsin this fall. We might talk about it, and just I'll head your way, and I'll get in the woods with you. Obviously, not obviously, but I don't have a tag, for Iowa. But that would be fun because I go right by. I go, right by it. That's for sure. When I head up to Wisconsin, I either go north of Des Moines or north of you guys of Iowa City. It's Iowa City, right? Up 80.
I'm in
Cedar Rapids.
I'm in Cedar Rapids, Iowa City,
right. Just south. What's the interstate there? I'm drawing a blank.
Interstate 380.
380.
Yeah.
So anyway, folks, we've had a great talk with Hunter Brunk. Again, you can find them on the YouTube channel. That's their place in social media. They're also up on Instagram, and check them out because Hunter, like I said, he's one of the young guns of the whitetail world, and he's got game, and it just shows you what a young guy can do still in high school. He's mature. You're watching his video. He just rocked his show. So on behalf of our thousands of listeners across North America, Hunter, thank you so much. And before we go, how about giving a shout out to your sponsors or your brother, whoever you want? Take a minute or so, and then we'll be traveling on.
Yes, first of all, I just I gotta say thanks to my family. Obviously, Trevor, thank you to him for putting in all the work that he does for Brunk Outdoors. He's really been kicking butt lately, and I'm really appreciative of that. Unfortunately, he's up in Wisconsin doing a summer job, so he couldn't be on the show. We were trying to find a time when we could both be on it, and that would have been really nice. But we just decided to have me go on the show and get that rolling. So maybe another time we can have both of us on, and that'd be really nice. But I also like to thank my dad for all that he does and for getting us involved in hunting and showing us a lot of what we know and teaching us. So I just want to say thanks to my family. Thank you to my mom, if she's watching this, for always supporting us in all of our hunting adventures. We put in gobs of time throughout the year to this passion, and I just want to thank her for always supporting us and being patient with us as we spend all this time doing what we love. And so I'll thank some of our sponsors now. We work with Mountain Ops, Athens Archery. We work with Last Chance Archery. Remington Scent Control is a big one. Philip at Remington Scent Control. They're just great guys and great products. And trying to think, I think I'm missing one. Should have written them out, but anyway, if you want to check out all of our sponsors, they're listed on all of our videos, and if you go check that out. So thank you to all of them. They make great products. We wouldn't be working with them if we didn't believe in what they did, and if we didn't personally use their products ourselves. Oh, the last one is um, X-Stand Tree Stand. Sorry, I was forgetting that last one. We just started working with them recently. So really excited about all of them and thank them for the continued support.
So again, let's wrap the show. It's really been a pleasure, and I look forward to maybe changing my route up a little bit. We can get you and Trevor on the show. We'll just do it right from your house right now, right where you are, and we can have a great show in the morning or at noontime because we'll probably be hunting morning and in the evening. But I'd love to spend some time with you, and just watching you. Can you long distance glass and watch your tree stand? So do you have your tree stand where I could set up in my truck or a hill or ridge, so I wouldn't be on top of you because you film your own?
Probably not. I hunt wherever I find myself. I'm always being really mobile, and I don't really have just set stands. It's a big thing with the X stand. They have their backcountry combo that will allow me to be really mobile this fall. And last fall, I was doing a lot of mobile hunts, just ground hunting. So I basically hunt wherever I can find a spot that I want to sit down and hunt deer. So probably wouldn't work for the long range watching, but you can come along with me. I'm sure we can get in there and it won't bother a thing. You can just be right there with me.
Well, Hunter, again, this is the third time I close the show. On behalf of thousands of listeners across North America, thanks so much for being a guest on Whitetail Rendezvous. And I can't wait to watch your career build and see where it goes and how you blossom as a young gun in the whitetail world.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
On our next episode, we're heading out to L.A. What's Whitetail Rendezvous doing in L.A.? Well, there's a gentleman out there, Sam Ayers, and he has a podcast called Living Country in the City. And it's all about how a city guy turned country and how he handles different subject matters, eating organic. Venison is organic. But Sam is really lighting it up with his wit, with his understanding, and his way he communicates with all sorts of people. Hey, folks, we got a new sponsor. It's called Buckwild Coffee. What's so special about Buckwild Coffee? Well, a gazillion people go to Starbucks every day and drink coffee. Well, why shouldn't Buckwild Coffee offer you light, medium, or dock roast with free shipping. All you have to do is go to whitetailrendezvous.com, go to shop, and order your coffee, and I'll ship it out for free. Hey, thanks so much for visiting Buckwild Coffee. The best brew in the West, the best brew around the campfire, the best brew in the hunting shack, the best brew anywhere. Buckwild Coffee. Get yours today. Sam Ayers, living in the country, living country in the city.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.